Let's get all packed up for your nail tech exam. First, you'll want to label your bag. Trash, soiled linen, and to be disinfected. Make sure your bags are lined with plastic bags. Then you'll need your manicure setup. In this bag, you'll want to have your manicure bowl, your polish, your base and top coat, and your red color coat. You'll need a set of implements and nail file and buffer. Fold everything in a towel and slide it into a Ziploc bag, and don't forget to take a small bottle of water. Next, you'll have your tip, blend, and nail sculpture bag. You need to have sealed odorless monomer, an acrylic brush, your acrylic powder and monomer, a nail form, a nail soak-off clip, cotton, a nail file, a nail buffer, nail glue, nail tips, which I don't see here, but make sure you get the full wheel tips so they can be glued in the middle. They want you to blend the tip in the center of the nail so they can see that you blended it well. Then package it just like the manicure bag. Now this is what your practice hand should look like bare, but then we're going to glue some tips on before we get to state board. And these are your universal supplies as well. Make sure they're nice and clean and neat with manufacturer's label. But back to the tip blend. Glue the tips on in a very, very secure way, meaning you have to hold it for a long period of time, 20 to 30 seconds per finger, so they are not popping off at state board. So you have to prep the hand before you get to state board. Be sure to glue on the tips and then cut them very short and natural looking. And then you're going to apply a very thin coat of acrylic to keep them all in place. Now the key here is to keep your nails short so that the nail form fits nice and snug for your tip sculpture, your nail tip sculpture portion of the exam. So if your nail is too thick when you take it in, that makes things a lot more complicated. So just take this tip, keep it short, keep it thin when prepping your nail hand, when prepping your mannequin hand. So we're almost done gluing these tips on. Takes forever, but just take your time. It's better to take your time and be patient with this step rather than have them pop off at state board. So be very, very careful as you're gluing on your nail tips and just hold it for a long time. Now that they're all glued on, we're just going to trim them very, very short. Now it's time to trim the nails very, very short, as I mentioned before. So very natural looking length here. Now let's file them in a very natural looking shape, a shape that's easy. You don't want them to be too boxy because that makes the form fit kind of weird. Separate the fingers by putting your fingers in between and just giving yourself some space to file here. Just keep it very, very minimal with filing on tips that have no product on them because they can easily pop back off. So just keep it simple. Now go in with your one coat of acrylic. Keep it thin, remember, because you want there to not be this big, huge ridge in your nail when you start sculpting at state board. So you see, I'm just using one bead here. One bead, that's all it takes. And I'm not using a large bead like a normal one bead method. This is a very tiny bead, like more like a tiny fill-in bead, but over the whole nail. So now you get it. This is how we set up our mannequin hand for state board. In part 2 of this video, we will go over manicure, nail tip blend, sculptured nail, nail removal, and blood exposure. And be sure to share these videos with someone who is taking their nail tech practical exam.